When it comes to video games, one thing I can't resist is a brand new horror game. Just throw a little zombie in there and that's it. So I'm assuming the same for some of you, I don't know, which is why today we're going with the top 12 upcoming zombie games coming to PC and consoles launching within the upcoming year. And don't forget to check back often. My name is Maxi and this is FGameKiller. One of the more notable titles in the zombies genre recently, continuing the theme of hacking and slashing through Nazis, is Zombie Army 4. Now, as you might have guessed, this entry is set in World War II that also has a strong 80s horror influence, in which players will have the option to play through the story alone, or maybe even team up with up to 3 friends. Similar to Sniper Elite series, it has an X-ray thing where killing is way more brutal and yet satisfying way to take down shit. And also, as you might have already guessed, the game is much easier and much more fun when you add more players to the mix. Anyway, they're releasing 4 different Zombie Army 4 versions, giving fans a choice of bonuses, extra content, DLC and some real-world collectibles. These are standard, deluxe, super deluxe and collector's edition, and they range in cost from $69 to $169.95 US. Zombie Army 4 Dead War launches on 4th of February 2020 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC via the Epic Games Store. So during E3, Techland developers revealed that the long-awaited Dying Light 2 will launch in the spring of 2020. It was then appeared as though these plans may have received somewhat of a push, and it will not get those hands on the thing until June 2020. That launch window though isn't confirmed by Techland, but if true, it's an interesting development that moves the title away from the onslaught of experiences hitting PlayStation 4 within the month of March, April and May. Although it no longer has to compete with the likes of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cyberpunk, it may end up hitting PlayStation 4 on the same day as the E3 2020 press conference. Anyway, whenever Dying Light 2 launches, it will land on the PlayStation 4, PC and Xbox One. There will then also be tons of expansions and yes, there will be a lot of additional content as well. The past few months have been both good and bad for fans eagerly waiting for Last of Us. To literally tell us a new one, it was then announced that the sequel will be shipped without multiplayer and online gameplay as Naughty Dog focused only on the single-player campaign. Developers then promised that the plot and gameplay elements in this title is so far the biggest project they've actually worked on. That was actually good news. One thing we learned from Neil recently was, like the original, The Last of Us Part 2 will feature some extreme violence, which we weren't so sure what to do with at first. But then Neil realized it and added it's not just a violent game, but a game about violence and the effect that it has on people, to which we had to shut it. Anyway, we're here and so you are, and so one scheduled for a February 2020 release, The Last of Us Part 2 is now slated to launch on May 29th, 2020. Rainbow Six Quarantine was announced at E3 earlier this year, but was said it will be a co-op shooter in a PvE atmosphere, in which you will be trying to fight off a disease that most likely will turn you into a zombie thing, only in its own way. But what we know is that most likely we will be seeing familiar faces in the game, such as Ella, Doc, and but one of the most asked questions is this a DLC for Rainbow Six Siege? No. Rainbow Six Siege and Rainbow Six Quarantine are 2 different games with 2 different teams. Both are coming from Ubisoft Montreal. Best case scenario, there will be some links between the 2. Anyway, Rainbow Six Quarantine will be released sometime around 2020, most probably before April 2020. You can also sign up for the beta right now.
He's going into stasis.
Contact! Head to the extraction point!
Coming up, we got Skydance Interactive's very own take on the dark zombie drama that's been on the TV for almost the last decade. Recently announced The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. Well, just like the TV show, Saints and Sinners is a fight for survival game where you have to deal with the constant threats, but the zombies of course, along with the people, where each decision then is as crucial as the last one, like deciding whose life you get to save and who you won't. So it's gonna be brutal with plenty of melee action. One piece of information that has been confirmed as the launch date is that it's coming on 23rd January 2020. VR Focus will also continue its coverage of Saints and Sinners and will be reporting back with further progress updates at a later date. Saints and Sinners is scheduled to launch for PC on Steam and the Oculus Rift as well, so keep it in mind. Earlier this year, Capcom surprised Resident Evil fans with the next entry in the series, Project Resistance. The game's still in development, but we could get our hands on some gameplay footage at Microsoft X019 conference. It certainly looks interesting, and I gotta say it looks very much like a Left 4 Dead style experience, albeit from a third-person viewpoint. Project Resistance is expected for sometime in 2020. Since Left 4 Dead 2 has been released back in 2009, co-op zombie shoot-'em-up fans happen to be hoping to get more, only to find out the studio behind it has answered these prayers together with the announcement of a spiritual successor to the series with a new entry called Back 4 Blood. As a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead as opposed to a sequel, Turtle Rock has stated it is a whole new IP that will be a co-op zombie first-person shooter of a similar vein. So while it's not really a Left 4 3, it will probably have a lot of similar elements, and in the studio's own words, we're going back to our roots and at the same time maybe even innovating on them. So at the same time, Turtle Rock Studios is not given any concrete release date, and all things considered, the earliest we can expect to see Back 4 Blood is late 2020, with a 2021 release being actually much more likely. So in a relationship with Nvidia, developers Next Studios announced earlier this September Synced Off Planet, a sci-fi third-person survival shooter offering players a mixed PvE and PvP gameplay experience. Clearly inspired by the likes of Ubisoft's The Division. They even bothered to cook up a cinematic trailer for the occasion, yet I've learned the main selling point of this game is the ability for 50 players to take part in a single match alongside the 1,000 strong horde of these things called Nomos, an army of twisted stuff and these roaming cyborg things, mutants. Combat will therefore range between taking on other players while keeping tabs on these other things, but as for when this might be, Tencent the publisher hasn't provided an exact date or even a release window, only suggesting the year 2020 as the earliest. Platform-wise, PC is all but guaranteed, with consoles probably coming out at a later date, possibly even never. Check it out.
Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Well, it appears The Walking Dead just can't catch a break when it comes to video games, as The Walking Dead Onslaught has been pushed back. Savius had to break the unfortunate news in a Twitter post, letting fans know that the game would not be making the fall 2019 release window. Instead, it has been pushed back to 2020. No real reason was given for the push, so we're gonna have to wait and see if they can recover and get the game out properly next year. Hopefully, we'll get to learn even why then. Well, in case you haven't noticed, the former Payday developers started their own studio called 10 Chambers Collective. And their first game is a sci-fi 4-player co-op action horror first-person shooter called GTFO. Yeah, while we've already posted gameplay of it, which by the way looks amazing so far, the game still doesn't have a firm release date, and in a press release 10 Chambers announced that they are still aiming for the GTFO early access Steam release for hopefully to be later this year. The studio also announced that they will release new levels on a regular basis for early access buyers and also introducing new concepts. Let's give it a watch.
Then I wake up. I'm not sweating or screaming. I'm perfectly calm. I just open my eyes and I'm awake. And it's not a nightmare. It's just part of me, who I am. I don't fight it. I just live around it.
Kill all the goddamn zombies in different game modes. Here, in Zombie Killing Simulator. Now before we get into it, if you want to try this one, it's actually pretty simple. All you have to do is to just head over to Steam and get it for some like $150 and give it a shot. You might also want to hustle up on that because it's a special promotion offer and it ends on December 3rd. Now in the case of this simulator, besides the different game modes you get to play, you can even be in space or at Roman Colosseum, or you can even design your own levels in the game, which practically means the only important thing in this game is killing zombies. Currently the game has all the core mechanics in place and is relatively bug-free, but a final product for this game is possibly coming sometime in 2020. Check it out. One announcement hot off the press from Sony's China Joy press conference was the reveal of the game Undying. Now, Undying is an indie survival game where players take control of this mother who is infected, and her goal is now to find somewhere safe for her son to live on before she turns. Limited resources must be managed in order to slow down the infection, while also making sure that they both don't starve and stuff like that. So there we kinda have it. Undying is coming to PlayStation 4 in addition to its previously announced PC version, which is due out via Steam Early Access in Q1 2020, and a release date for the final launch has yet to be announced.
Must protect Cody. Whatever it takes.
If you want some more videos, anything in particular, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. Click like if you like this video, and if you're not subscribed yet, please do that already. We upload videos almost every day of the week. And the best way to see them is of course a subscription. So click subscribe and don't forget to hit that notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you here next time on FGameKiller.